What is trauma-informed instruction?
Trauma-informed instruction is guidelines for teachers to use when they are deciding what to do in the classroom. Trauma, as we all know, is anytime something bad happens to us. There's physical trauma. If you break your bone or you bruise yourself, that's a form of trauma. And then there's also emotional trauma that can occur if there's abuse or bullying happening for the child. Then there's social trauma, same difference really is emotional, um, so on and so on. So trauma informed instruction basically says that we as teachers see that our students are coming to us traumatized by their backgrounds, and that we need to inform our instruction based on this information. Now, that's the basic overview of it, but we need to go a little bit deeper in order to understand what it's really telling us. So, I don't know if you guys have heard of trauma informed instruction before, but I'm going to go on the basis that you know little to nothing. So, if you know something already, sorry, I'm speaking for the beginners out there. Um, Trauma informed instruction tells us that when a student becomes overwhelmed by extreme emotions, like any of us would if they're put in unsafe situations over and over and over again, their brains form connections that lead to flight, fight, or freeze. Now, we can call that flipping our lid. That's kind of like the layman's term. When you go into that mode, um, and it's our biology. It's how we have adapted to save ourselves back whenever we had to really save ourselves from wild animals or war. That was something that everyone had to deal with. Um, Anyways, so when a student flips their lid or goes into flight, fight, or freeze, they are not able to think rationally. Think about yourself at your most upset. Okay, you're really angry. Something terrible has happened. What it happens to you? Well, what happens to me is I kind of freeze up and my body starts trembling a little bit, and I start looking for escape routes. I start thinking about how much bigger the people are around me, how much stronger are they? And it's not even something I'm doing consciously. It's just what I am doing subconsciously because I'm feeling unsafe or very angry in that moment. I am not making great decisions. I'm not like having a great debate with this person. I am probably arguing, saying unkind things. Okay. Now imagine you're a child and you just saw something extremely traumatizing. Okay. So your brain is forming that connection to flight, fight, or freeze a lot in your home environment or your neighborhood environment or whatever environment that is exposing you to that trauma. And so your brain is making those connections really easily now. And so you don't know who you can trust at this point anymore. You go to school and you see this adult who's an authority over you and can make any decision they want, basically, and you have to follow through with the directions. Well, that's not going to feel safe to someone who's had trauma. So they're already in a little bit of a heightened state. Hopefully, you've created an environment where they can feel that, okay, this person might have authority over me, but I feel comfortable. But not everyone's lucky enough to connect with their traumatized students on such a deep level. So there's the cases where that doesn't happen. All right, so um, they are now going to make that connection, flipping their lid or going to flight, fight, or freeze over things that seem trivial to you. Like, please finish up your assignment before you turn it in. I know you want to play with your friends, but you have to finish these two problems first. Okay, you or I or a regulated child would be like, okay, I'm going to get these two problems. Even if I get them wrong, I'm just going to write something down so I can get out and play with my friends. No, this kid says, oh my God, this person is controlling me. They are not listening to my needs. And they just become more and more and more dysregulated. They flip their lid. And before you know it, they've flipped a table or they have struck you or they have cursed you out, and you're like, what is wrong with this child? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with this child. Their brain made the connection that is easiest for them. And so that is basically the underlying reason why we need trauma informed instruction, because that's the connections that our students are making with their brain. And so we know enough, thanks to science, to know that this is happening now. Now, we are already in a better position than some of our older peers who didn't understand why their children were acting out. They just saw these behaviors and had no idea what was causing it. Well, we're in the better position because we know what's causing it. And now science is giving us not blueprints exactly, but best practices that we know are helpful for our students who are in these situations. De-escalation strategies, giving our students choices as much as possible, tying back their education to things that seem practically important to them. So that way they don't feel controlled. They see you as someone who is there to help them get to the best life they can have. The more that you can connect with your students and make those connections between what they're learning and what is going on in their lives, the more easily they can see the importance of doing those two problems before going and playing. These children are capable of rational thought. They just need practice. And they also need our empathy. As adults, we need to see how powerless they must feel when they feel unsafe a lot of the time. And so trauma informed practice or trauma informed instruction gives us the tools that as teachers we require in order to do what is best for our traumatized students.